Hi, folks. Today we are going to discuss the entire research process. Now, we have to understand that as a practitioner researcher or as a student researcher, you have to go through similar stages when conducting research. So, the entire stages, the process through which either you are a professional or a student, you have to follow the same set of process. So, yet there are some notable differences. First of all, you have to understand that as a student researcher, your research needs to contain a certain amount of theory. You have to often use a key support during your research, and that's your project supervisor has to support it. The significance of the supervisor is, you know, paramount, and the supervisor guides you through the entire research if you are a student. On a similar note, the research methodology, the majority of the books or the content that is available on research, or research skills refer to the research process by illustrating a series of stages. Those steps, what makes a complete research project, knowing the process would help you steer the entire process or the project in a positive direction. So, the entire agenda of this tutorial is to make you familiar with the research process. What are the stages in this process? So, let's get started. So, first and foremost, the step one, that is to establish an intention. Obviously, you need to have a basic purpose prior to carrying out your research. You need to have the goal, you need to have a vision. What is going to be the outcome of your entire research? So, in the case of your project, your focus will be on starting and eventually completing your research within the time period laid down by your, maybe the research supervisor, your organization in which you are working, or your college or university. So you have to follow those timelines. So establish the intention. That's the first and foremost. So when I say intention, to summarize, it's going to be your goal, that is the research outcome, and the timelines, right? So moving on, what is the second step? So the second step in your research is choosing the research topic. So before you start, you need a subject. Generally, your choice of topic is likely to be influenced by what interests you. This is the ideal situation. But in reality, many a times you choose a topic that interests your supervisor. That is not an ideal situation. I have explained this in the previous lecture as well. So, you have to understand that having a suitable access to information or perhaps career aspirations will also help you choose your research topic. The latter can help become a useful setting tool when attending job interviews or following your graduation, or maybe once you, for example, let us say once you finish your PhD and further you apply for some teacher's role, maybe an assistant professor, associate professor, whatever it is, based on your experience. So all those aspirations, they depend on the kind of a topic that you have worked upon. So the nature of the research topic and how to generate ideas and establish research questions are of paramount importance. So this is an important step, and you have to curate your entire topic very carefully, very cautiously, keeping in mind what are your long term goals, right? Step 3, conduct a literature review. A literature review is an essential part that obviously you cannot ignore, and moreover, the more robust your literature review is, it becomes very easy for you to find the research gaps and design the further research methodology. So, conduct a literature review, because literature review is an essential part of academic research. Basically, okay, It is an acknowledgement of what has already been written on your chosen subject or topic. It helps you to identify the gaps. Okay, whatever has been done, what is the scope, you can identify those gaps in the existing literature that may assist you in forming the basic of your study, as well as helping to avoid repetition. It brings in, or it infuses novelty into your topic. So your literature review has to be very, very robust and thorough. Okay, moving on, what is the next step? That is step number 4, the research design. Your research design is a systematic plan of the data collection and analysis phases of your project. How are you going to collect your data? How would you design your sample? What would be your tool, the instrument? Okay, that is to say, let us say, designing your questionnaire. So, all these things come under this step. So, research design, this is quite essential, quite crucial. Okay, when I say it's essential or crucial, that becomes a cliche, because when you have to follow a process, almost every step has got equal importance, right? So that is your research design. So design your questionnaire, design the methodology based on which you are going to design your sample, who is going to be the respondent, and what is going to be the instrument that is going to capture the responses. Okay, following this, step number 5, that is address your ethics. Okay, when I say ethics, ethics are the principles and values that undersign the way researchers conduct their research. Now, although I have briefly highlighted ethics during the previous lectures or tutorials, this is very, very essential, very, very important, because there always, you always encounter certain bottlenecks or challenges when there are plagiarism checks and all that stuff. So you have to address the ethics, kind of, when you are collecting your data. Okay, many a times we fudge the data. Avoid it. You can, avoid fudging the data, collect genuine data, use genuine softwares, avoid pirated softwares, avoid plagiarism and all these things. Address your ethics. Then the next step, that is step number 6, collect your data. Okay, now the process of gathering your data from, let us say, your sample respondents, they always range from wide different sources, wide variety of sources. Now there are likely to include both primary and secondary. Now let us say you assume that I focus only on primary or secondary kind of a data. You can examine the main data collection methods. You can visit a lot of literature available online, read a lot of books, how you are going to collect the data. If it is primary, what are the various instruments to capture that data? If it is the secondary kind of a data, what are the various sources that can give you the data which has got veracity, which is dependable, right? So collecting the data is an important, very important stage, because your data is going to support your hypothesis. This is what is going to bolster your objectives, right? So collecting the data is one of the most significant steps in your research process. Moving on, the next step is obviously analyzing your data. Once you have collected your data, now you would analyze it. Is your data supporting your hypothesis? This is what you want to answer, right? So analyzing the data is the process of analyzing your results to see the extent to which they address your research questions or hypothesis, right? This is what I told you earlier. So this is what is going to answer the questions that you have raised, the research questions, or the hypothesis that you have designed or you have set forth to answer. Now the tools of analysis depend on whether you have collected quantitative or qualitative data, right? You may have qualitative data, you may have quantitative data. So the kind of tools that you would require to analyze either of these would be entirely different. Okay, so you have to understand this and choose your tools to analyze your data very cautiously. Moving on, the next stage, that is the final stage, that is the write up. All said and done, you have captured your data, you have analyzed your data, you have probably proved your hypothesis correct or incorrect, whatever it is. The final thing is to pen them down. You have to write everything and conclude everything that you have done thus far. So when I say write up, at some point of a time, all the information that you have gathered, probably over several months or maybe years, need to be written down. This will fail uh, if you are not able to, all the efforts that you have done will fail if you are not able to substantiate your findings in a properly worded manner. So all these things that you have done will fall within the structure of your research project guidelines. So understand what kind of guidelines are in place, whether you are a student or a researcher or an academician or a professional. You definitely have certain guidelines of presenting the report. So follow those guidelines while you are writing your report. This is very important because all your effort can be ruined if your report or the write up is not in the format, or it's not supporting the guidelines provided by the authority who is going to review your work. So perhaps one of the main questions concerning write up is when to start, right? Because I have been doing my work. So at what stage should I start my write up? This is a very pertinent question. And most of my students have asked me this question, that when should I start writing my report or thesis? So this, along with other issues related to writing, can be covered in a different video. But I would say, even if you are able to write a page of whatever you have done every day, so the burden of the write up in the final stage would be reduced drastically. So every day, whatever you have been doing, pen down your thoughts, pen down your findings each day, so that will, significantly reduce your work at the final stage. So start your write up from day one. This is my suggestion, right? So that these are the 8 stages or 8 steps in your research process. So if you like the video, do like, share, subscribe, and you know I would always say hit the bell icon so that you are notified whenever we upload a new video. So like, share, subscribe, spread the good word. Thank you for watching this video. Bye bye, take care.